There's a difference between a sales manager comes in and can run a great playbook that already exists and being the person or the woman who has to build the playbook. It's a totally different set of skills. And so that's something you have to consider when you go out and hire people. And I can give people a hack here. Ask them what their process is to build it. Because if they can't define a detailed process across steps, they're not the person for your company. Now, if you just want them to come in and do the thing, fine. But I'll give you one other cautionary tale. Don't hire a player coach. Please, please, please. Jeff and I say don't hire player coaches. Don't hire player coaches. It's just not gonna work.
It's no different than any other part of the business. Theory of constraints. You're looking at the numbers and hey, here's where the bottleneck is. Here's where my major constraint is in the sales process, and this is the thing I need to improve. And if you do that, like you said on the discovery call at the beginning, now what you've done is you've increased every other one of those metrics along the way. And it's not just a small change. It's a massive change in what you're going to do in revenue and on the back end.
It's unbelievable. I'll give you an example. So we have a client called Third and Grove. They're a website design agency out of Boston. Justin's a fantastic CEO, owner, action-driven. He came in, CEO came in, went through our 90-day sales accelerator training program by himself first. Then he brought his team in. His team came in. They were there for 90 days as well. So he'd been in the program about 6 months. They tripled their win rate on net new business. Now here's the interesting part. They had 3 times the sales on the exact same dollar amount of leads that they had before.
Wow.
You want to talk about removing the constraints.
That's huge.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. And the further upstream you can fix that and get that everything flowing through there well, that the impact is multiplied at every step.
And that's what you got to be looking for. Is it's small, James Clear in Atomic Habits says, trust the process, and I firmly believe that, but you have to have somebody in who knows how to do the process. Like we talked before, we've kind of made light of some of the kind of mistakes that people make. And it's not because we don't think they're serious.
No,
right? It's not
I've
because
made them all.
Yeah. That's a much longer podcast if you want to sit down and talk about how I absolutely suck. I mean, well, we'll just get drinks. I mean, maybe we'll get a bottle. I mean, it'll be a long podcast. It'll be a long podcast. We'll call it, Ken's Wallows over bourbon or something. But like when you talk about that with like a VP of sales, one of the things you talked about or you put out as a shot across the bow was hiring that VP of sales from the big company.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about why that generally doesn't work when you're bringing somebody downstream and you don't have any infrastructure in place yet.
I mean, it's because every company is different. And 2, you don't know if they're the ones that actually deliver that success or if they happen to be in the right place at the right time, or if it was marketing or what kind of support they had. Was it a magic product that really did sell itself? That does happen occasionally. Yeah. And some of the companies that really go on those rocket rides, it's a combination of all of those together. And it's a magic moment and they just happen to be in the right place and take credit for all of it.
Yeah. I was on a messaging thread in LinkedIn with a guy by the name of Kevin Gaither, who's another sales consultant. And we were talking about that idea of, product sales, whatever. And one of his comments back to me was, I think if I was actually selling for Google, my opening line would have been, how much money would you like to write me a check for today?
Sure, why not?
Because you don't have that. And I think the other thing that gets missed, just to expand on your point about hiring that VP of sales who's got the brand, right? They worked for Adobe, they worked for Salesforce, they worked for Microsoft, whoever it is. There's a difference between a sales manager comes in and can run a great playbook that already exists and being the person or the woman who has to build the playbook.
Yep.
It's a totally different set of skills. And so that's something you have to consider when you go out and hire people. And I can give people a hack here. Ask them what their process is to build it. Because if they can't define a detailed process across steps, they're not the person for your company.
Yeah.
Now, if you just want them to come in and do the thing, fine. But I'll give you one other cautionary tale. Don't hire a player coach. Please, please, please. Jeff and I say don't hire player coaches. Don't hire player coaches. It's just not gonna work.
Yep. No, you're right about that.